deviation from the matchup.
Yeah. And something you got to do at a time like that. But have another match to get into. And this is like a throwback to like early Ultimate. We've got Orex and Cheeks. This is, for a while we were like, hey, this is going to be like our #1 and #2.
Right. Yeah, no, this was a certified hood classic at one point. And now this is a blast from the past. We're looking at 2 VHS tapes.
I was about to say spin it on the record, but that's probably more like Austin versus Denty.
Yeah, that's the needle drop. Cheeks has
when do we get back to the phonograph? That's what I want.
Oh, wow, yeah, I don't even know who that would be. But Cheeks has been showing up at these past couple of Shockwaves. Not necessarily back to Mr. Consistency, but so close to flirting with that title once again.
You can tell that he's starting to like rediscover himself as a player, right? And be like, right, this is where I had like the right approach to the game, I feel like, because I don't think that if you just like completely analog his playstyles from like pre-quarantine and now, it's not like looking in a mirror. They're not the exact same, but I do think that he has discovered again an approach to the game that where he's enjoying it. He's finding a way to develop his skills in a way that can continue over time.
Simplify, simplify, simplify.
Yeah.
Yes, Cheeks has definitely gone through his fair share of character crisis. Not necessarily because he wasn't sure which one he enjoyed the most, but just which one was strongest, which one felt like he could just sink his teeth in. Even went back to the old main Cloud. Roy was in that joint. Palutena was on that as well. Maybe a couple of others. But it is back to the yeah, that's right. Thank you. It was the Aegis. That's right. But the Palutena is where we found home. And it has found him plenty of success, at least in this recent weeks. However, Orex, let's speak respect on the king's name.
Yeah.
Right? Orex has never not been Mr. Consistency.
That is like the name to his game, is being the guy that you know what you're going to get on any given day. And what's interesting is that recently it hasn't quite been that way, but I have seen him playing, like extremely recently. When I say recently, I talk like about like a month.
You're right.
Right? But when I look at him just like this week even, I go, starting to get some of the old Orex vibes back, right? I'm starting to see and he also went through a very rare character crisis of his own for a minute, picking up a couple of other characters, but he's back to the Peach and Daisy, and he does switch between both of them, so I feel like I have to say
you talking about him being on the other characters, I was surprised to see Peach come up on the screen, because Rob is what we had heard recently, and then the Byleth has had some time. I don't know if he's in love with that character or those mechanics anymore, but I mean, I'm here for the Orex Peach. There used to be a time where Orex was the most hated person to see in your bracket. Everybody would say, who do you fear most? Orex.
See, I'm the weird guy that goes, dude, I love playing a slow game because it gives me 5 minutes to figure out what the hell's going on. Where if anybody walks up to me and combos me for 45 seconds, I go, I learned nothing. I learned nothing. But you're going to learn fundies when you fight against Orex.
Yes, Orex is definitely Team Fundies. Cheeks also being part of that team, so Team Fundies, Team Kill. Yeah.
That's what we're going to get. And again, Orex back on the Peach, you see, right? He's so terrifying to run into as a player because it's very difficult to force him to make mistakes. He's one of those players that he's got a playstyle that works, and boy, does he run the pace of a match.
I could not agree more. Which is funny because that's something I would also say Cheeks has shades of. But like we were talking about earlier, Cheeks is just now finding, how they have reinvented their wheel in Smash while Orex is coming back. Kind of like, you never forget how to ride a bike. He's finding the old Orex. So it's the new Mr. Consistency versus the old one.
Yeah. Well, and I also heard some chatter from the players tonight that they were like, oh yeah, like running into Cheeks and he's playing Palu, and we haven't had like, a a really solid Palu here for a while, like pretty much since Desley dropped the character,
Yeah,
right? From
yeah,
Inman.
and then Mutex was out here for a minute, but it wasn't our Palu.
But it wasn't our Palu, and it wasn't consistent either.
Right.
And as Orex does even that up, a lot of people were saying that like this was like a punch in the face. Like, oh, this is what it's like when a Palu plays neutral and runs away from you, right? And to see that come back and to play against Orex now, like this is sort of the ultimate test of how back is it.
Right. When I think about DFW, I always think about, you know, our players kind of pushing the meta or you know, using their tools as strongly as possible, regardless of how you feel as a competitor. and these two are definitely those people. Cheeks picking up with the up air, 33%. And like you were saying, you know, we haven't had a Palutena of our own in a minute, save for Desley, who has really made us frustrated.
Yeah. Well, and Desley didn't really even frustrate you either because he would kind of go at you.
He'd play some of the game. That is definitely true.
He'd do that. And I love that from Cheeks, too, because you will get moments of that, but that's only after he forces you into a really bad position. And then you get the flashes of, oh, remember his Cloud, remember his, you know, Roy. He would just stand there, and then you would get scared and spot dodge, and then he'd blow you up.
Right.
And we've seen a little bit of that in this game already.
Orex, though, refusing to give him too much information that might honestly be helping Cheeks out more than he thinks. Because once again, you know, you can be as consistent or play the matchup on paper as possible, but that can be the strength for some other players, and Cheeks is definitely one of those people. You play the matchup on paper versus him, he'll do the same thing back to you. He knows his win conditions. He will not deviate.
Well, and especially when it comes to playing his character his way, right? That's the number one thing you have to shut down against Cheeks, is because if he gets comfortable and he gets to play the game plan that he's thought up of in his head, forget it.
Yeah.
Like, just go next.
Yeah.
The Orex right now, definitely the never say die kind of attitude as we take down to 2.5 minutes and Cheeks still holding on to that second stock with Orex just trying to whittle that shield down, see if Cheeks will give him some kind of mistake, but it's just not going to happen. He was in control in the driver's seat for the full 5+ minutes of that game.
And it's funny, we saw shades of how Cheeks is playing versus Orex in the last match with Grayson and Fox, where, you know, Grayson recognized the tools he had, said, I don't actually have to commit or overextend. But once that lead, that percent lead or stock lead happens, now it's your responsibility. It's funny because Orex would be the person who does that to other people, and now tides have turned. So I'm starting to wonder, all of this to say, starting to wonder if Orex trying to be Orex is stopping him from succeeding against Cheeks.
Yeah, well, that's a really good point because Orex is just like the poster child of, I don't want to say risk adverse, but sort of like the prevention-based playstyle where it's like, I'm not going to try to rock the boat too much. I want to just shrink your margin of error, widen mine, and then play within that, where sometimes you got to look at the other guy, look at the margin of error, and just push him out of it.
Right. Just dive in head first, eyes closed, don't care. Head empty, just vibes.
That's what you get from Mute, though, is that, like, he will play the way that Orex is doing now, but just ever so, like, sometimes, and not all the time, but he'll find a moment where you get acclimated to that defense, and then he turns on the Jets and peach on your shield or on your defense. It's always going to be hellish to deal with. And that's the one thing that Orex has always had to try to build with this character, is that prevention has always been so ironclad, but how do you add on that little extra sriracha kick? Like that.
Oh,
cook it.
Could literally frying pan and everything. Put some butter in that joint.
Still one of the best sound effects in this entire game.
Grang.
Cannot say the same for Team Fortress 2, but that's a conversation for a different day. Back throw. Yep.
The Palu Classic, the fake run dash back in the corner, setting up for the back throw. What's so hard for Orex to get started is exactly the playstyle of finally good edge guard. Is the exact playstyle that he's using versus Cheeks. But it may just be, you know, Palu has those options. They're just a little bit better in the neutral. Wow. Bump a neutral.
That must have been a more powerful turnip because Cheeks kind of went flying.
Oh, my God. Stitch game plus.
That's the sriracha kick I was talking about. And you know what? To his credit, now we do see Orex turning on the Jets a little bit. He's getting a little bit more confident, just really throwing that frame data at Cheeks and making him do something about it. Where on that first stock, it still felt like Cheeks had control of the game, but now he's been dancing on the back foot.
Right. This is what I would love to see is Cheeks' response to being behind in percent. Now Orex gets the opportunity to try and get this edge guard. Back air, very safe on shield. Cheeks didn't want to do nothing about it.
Oh my goodness, but amazing spacing by Cheeks right there to get back to center stage and also get the punish on Orex. Just once again fighting out of the corner and just, yeah, again, you were talking about like what Palu has on Peach, or Daisy in this case, to really exacerbate those zones where she doesn't have the best burst movement range. And man, Cheeks has just been playing this like outboxer style so well, but Orex, once he's in, and I love to see him being a bit more of an infighter in this matchup.
Right. You've got the percent now, so I imagine, oh, nice. We're going to get this smooth combo, pepper the shield a little bit more, and then it's back to the neutral for sure. Don't want to overextend. Cheeks with information is a winning Cheeks.
He is right under the platform, too, so he knows. I love that. Again, Orex aggressive, but knows that Cheeks is not just going to immediately give up all stage for free. There's going to be some kind of transaction.
Oh, my goodness. Pixels away from that explosive flame. Might have killed.
Sometimes it feels like Orex maneuvers this character like it is with like a mouse and keyboard.
Yeah.
Like he is just moving her around the screen. It's very impressive that he's able to do that. He's at 79% on Cheeks, though, and getting hit back. Cheeks going for the whole game and ends up losing it in the process. But you have to respect the gumption to go for that because at a certain point, right, you go, okay, maybe I just don't have the chops on Smashville right now, but if I can get this one hit, sets over, I don't have to worry about that. But now he gets to go play on his counter pick.
Right, exactly.
I respect the idea, but it didn't work out, and Orex will obviously take that to the bank.
That is the advantage of Cheeks on Palutena. You know, gets to do what Cheeks does. Very methodical play style. Constantly conditioning you, waiting for you to mess up. And then the burst of Palutena, like you were speaking about earlier, allowing him to kind of pick and choose some of these battles where he can bet it all on the line. Unfortunately, not going to work out this time, but the counter pick is so important because now he gets to choose where he gets to do all of that. Cheeks, once again, with information, is a winning Cheeks.
I believe he's actually going back to Smashville, and I wonder if, I don't know, if he has a way to sort of slow Orex down a little bit, right? Because it feels like he's getting, you know, he's winding up like a jet engine a little bit, right? That now the gameplay is, I don't know, maybe it's just something that he gets to constantly play at a mid-range on this stage, but man, Orex looks so comfy here. Great defense by Cheeks, though.
And an excellent start right now, 80%. Cheeks finding himself back on stage, but not for very long. Has yet to respond. Oh, thought that was going to be a Cheeks throw. Orex is, well, now getting comboed.
Yeah, I thought that he totally had that, but just jumped off the ledge a little bit too quickly, and Cheeks definitely getting to turn things around here, but only momentarily. Orex has really been finding ways to just maneuver around. I feel like it's just Cheeks' rhythm that he's totally in tune to. Like, that hasn't changed up too much, and Orex has just been finding amazing ways to get exactly to the space he wants to be in, and this back throw, not quite going to be enough.
Definitely have to think about it now, though. Back throw on the board can kill. 180 forward throw, not going to do it. 200, though. Peach could sneeze on Cheeks, and he'd die. Man. And that's, well, the Achu.
I would not call that a sneeze so much as a, I mean, if he did, it was through like a Vuvuzela or a megaphone.
Gesundheit.
The atomic Achu.
The one last sneeze.
Just keeps going. And I feel like, man, Cheeks is just not acclimated to this change of pace from Orex. That game one, everything was so slow. He was really deliberate and taking his time. And, I mean, now he's just all over the place. He's buzzing around him like a mosquito.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you. That pace is so important for Cheeks to lock onto because then he gets to condition and dictate, you know, momentum when he gets to choose defense and offense. But Orex's start of this game has really just put the momentum right in his hands, and Cheeks finding it very difficult to do something about that.
You see, I mean, the way that Orex responds to the movement, I feel like, is so telling as well, right? Where whenever Cheeks runs towards him, Orex seems to pick the right response very often. And I wonder if there's just a little bit of, he's not mixing up those approaches enough as the Palu, which given that Cheeks has not felt the need to approach most people today,
Right.
it could be something that he's still trying to fight through.
Yeah, possible crack in the armor or a weak spot in his plan. I could definitely see that when you play a defensive character with great options as Palutena. Some of your game plan may not be strong in other areas. Her neutral's fantastic, but chasing people down, not normally what we see Palutena's doing.
It's like you were talking about in that game 1, right? Or how does game 2? How does Cheeks play from behind at this point? And it just seems like with Orex being able to play defensively, right? Be the outboxer that he wants to be. I mean, he makes those opportunities by getting up close and doing damage like this.
Goodness.
Man, Cheeks just can't make up that space.
And that would have been even more percentage, but Orex was looking for a reset on the platform. Great options from Cheeks here, but getting stage control is fantastic. The stock would be even better.
Just not able to get any of those big reads that he needs to get something started because he just hasn't been able to out-damage Orex like per opening either, which is normally a Palu problem past those early percents. Love that high recovery to force Orex to start thinking about letting up on the ledge a little bit, right? Give Cheeks some time to get back on stage.
Once again, Orex, like you said, piloting this character like there's mouse and keyboard, narrowly getting through all of these back airs, finally tagged with one, but still surviving. Cheeks' opportunity for this ledge guard. Back throw it is. Peace. Oh, not quite.
Enough.
The cakes.
That's part of rolling onto stage at that point is that you're a little bit too far for that Palu back throw to be as effective as just like the regular neutral get up. Oops.
And she's built like a brick house.
I don't want to go to that house.
Nope, not that one.
Not that
if
one.
those are the bricks y'all got, they're exploding and whatnot. Oh my goodness, Mushroom Kingdom.
Hey, Peach, what you growing in the backyard there? What are you, a cop?
You a narc? Oh man. Well, I'm gonna be real. I thought Cheeks might have had that set, especially after we saw game 1. It looked like Cheeks could not be, you know, baited into doing something different. Orex had that turnaround in game 2 with a turn up, and then an excellent start in game 3, and it was curtains.
Yeah.
It was absolute curtains from there.
There's just a great change to the game plan after the data gathering, which again, like given the way that Orex plays, I mean, he is just so astute and attentive to the people that he's playing against that, I mean, if you talk to him after any given set he plays, he's going to be able to tell you a world of information.
Oh, he'll analyze you, for real. And in real time, too. It's very quick. But, I mean, that's what you get when you put up, like, two Brainiacs against each other. You know, they're constantly throwing information back and forth. Some of it's fake, some of it's real. You're just always going through that cycle. And it just seemed like maybe Cheeks had a firm grasp of when it was his turn, but not a strong understanding of when it wasn't his turn.
Right,
You know?
You gotta, that's the thing about being somebody who plays on those, like, you know, brainy sort of play styles, right, where you're trying to think and analyze about what to do, is that you're going to have to be able to think on your feet because you will get a curveball thrown at you. Like in this case, right, Orex suddenly being a lot more comfortable boxing and getting up close and being able to make up that space, certainly getting a lot of reads on the way that Cheeks was moving, and it didn't seem like Cheeks was able to change that up enough to really get an advantage.
Right. Well, disadvantage or advantage, the only thing we would like you to... I don't know what the segue is, man. I really tried. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Smash Ultimate action. Don't go nowhere.
That's right, everybody. It's an ultimate shock because I'm back after a month and we're at Ultimate Shockwave.
I
The pretty
know.
boys back on comms, and I do mean Martha's included.
I know. Look at this slick figurine I got. I just had to show it off for all the peeps.
Dude, M was just talking to us about this figure and he was worried he was going to break it. He's like, oh, wait, it's a guy. It's worth $100 less. Who cares? Who cares?
I know. It's called the bargain bin.
Oh
Except
my God, the bargain bin is just their boy.